Every Thursday night, our goal, Baseball Blue Book and myself, is to bring you into the world of actual college coaches, to hear what each of them have to say, to allow them to share the reality of not only their university, but the world of college baseball collectively as a whole. It is my hope that by watching these episodes each and every week, you as a family and as a student athlete will gain insight. That is our mission statement from the Baseball Blue Book, is to provide access and information to you directly. We ask three things. One, please subscribe to the channel. If you found your way here to YouTube, we ask that you subscribe. Hit the notification bell, which will give you an update every time that we update a video or add a video. And if you like what you see, please, by all means, give us a thumbs up. Feel free to add a comment or a suggestion. We're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to miss things. But if you bring them to our attention, we will make sure we ask those questions. So enjoy tonight's episode of Coach's Corner. And again, thank you from the Baseball Blue Book and myself for taking the time to watch.
There's opportunities out there for sure, and then it's just a matter of what you make of them.
All right, welcome. If it's Thursday evening and it's 9 p.m., that must mean we are due for another edition of Coach's Corner, and I am excited. I mean, every Thursday's fun, but this Thursday's a little extra fun, and I'll share that with you a little bit. My name is Walter Beede. I want to thank you for joining us live, or if you find your way here via recorded message. This is the Baseball Blue Book sponsored Coach's Corner, where each Thursday evening we spend some time with college coaches all across the country, all levels and divisions, and we just talk a little baseball, hopefully to teach not only parents and families, but student athletes a little bit about the expectations and the life of a college baseball student athlete. Tonight's guest, I have a relationship with pretty much everyone that I talk to, but tonight I have probably going on close to 30 years, both as a coaching rival, so to speak. We both grew up in the same neighborhood over here in Massachusetts. We coached against each other, but we've always had a fond respect. And then Jayson went on to coach at the Division I level. Now he's in Ohio. He left me here all alone. So tonight's guest is Jayson King, formerly of National Powerhouse Division II NCAA Franklin Pierce, and now at the Atlantic 10 we have Dayton University's head coach Jayson King. Jay, thank you for joining me tonight, Captain.
Of course, my man. Always a pleasure to see you and talk to you.
Well, we go back a ways, and I'm going to take some liberty with that because we're going to be candid, because I know you're going to be candid. But before I go into all sorts of diatribe with relation to youth baseball and the current state of college baseball, for those of you that know me, my whole methodology in this whole process is trading athletic ability for academic excellence. And, when I say that, a lot of times parents kind of look at me like, man, it's really about the baseball. Reality, it's really for me as a parent, and I just literally flew in from Houston seeing my son, grandson, daughter-in-law with my wife. It's all about that education. And tonight, in just casual conversation, I happened to learn something new from Coach King, and that is your son is at Harvard University. Congratulations, Captain.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, we're all excited for him, and he's through his first semester over there. He's on to the spring, so he seems to be enjoying it. So we're all appreciative of the opportunity that he has there.
And that is truly life-altering. I think we can say that pretty safely, that an Ivy League school or that caliber of academic school, you've got to make you proud as a dad and as a parent.
It does. You've seen this, you've been through this. So my daughter and my son, they're hard workers, and obviously there's nothing that you want more for them than to have success and be able to go to good schools. And they're both in great places, and just very proud of both of them.
Well, Jay, I want to make sure that parents that always find their way to this, they always want me to ask college coaches, what are you looking for in a student athlete? What is it that catches a college coach's eye with a specific student athlete? I want to go back to the beginning for you as a young coach, Franklin Pierce, literally in the middle of that north central Mass, lower New Hampshire, southern New Hampshire. It's not exactly what we would call a baseball hotbed, but yet you made it into a national powerhouse. So I want to go back. What's different today for you at Dayton? And I'm not talking about Division I versus Division II. What's different today for you as a college coach versus when you first started at Franklin Pierce?
Well, I think some of the biggest differences is just, it's, I try to not, I try to definitely be someone that changes with the times and with um, student athletes as you're in this business, when you're in this business as long as I have been, if you don't do that, I feel like you're doing your student athletes a misjustice. And for me, I've been lucky that, my children, I have a senior in college and then a freshman in college. So I've kind of been growing with them. So I feel like I can relate very well to the kids nowadays and the ones that I was coaching when I was 25 years old as a head coach. I feel like my beliefs and thoughts as it relates to developing young men is very similar to when I first started. But obviously, there's different ways that you go about your business that you just have to adjust to the times and to the clientele that you work with. But to me, as a coach, I always feel if we're not challenging these student athletes to be better and to work hard and to be as the best version of themselves, we're doing them a misjustice. So I definitely have some old school in me for sure, but smart enough to know what I need to do and how to develop these kids.
Well, I definitely know several. I know a load of former Franklin Pierce student athletes. I know current Dayton University student athletes. The one thing they always tell me, and this is man for man, you taught them, you teach them how to be men, you teach them how to be future husbands. I mean, you really go over and above. This isn't just about baseball for you, and that's one of the dynamics of you as a person that I've always been drawn to, because you have a genuine care and consideration for these student athletes. And I want to kind of dive a little bit deeper with you than I might normally do with some coaches. I want to talk about parental expectation. You and I are both dads. We've gone through this thing as college coaches, but we also have our sons that are competitive athletes. And when you're going out into the recruiting environment, can you talk a little bit about the expectations from parents versus the realities of being a college athlete? Meaning, it's really hard.
Hmm. Yeah, it's difficult. I think the first thing is just if if they have the passion for it, I think our job as parents is to just support them and let them enjoy their journey. It's not our journey to have. It's their journey. And myself as a college baseball coach, obviously I can help probably a little bit more than the typical dad, but at the same time, I was never one to force anything on either one of my kids as far as getting in the weight room and or getting in the cages. When they wanted to do it, I was there for them 100% all the time, anytime they wanted me. But I was realistic about they have to have the love for it. My love for it is obviously there, but it's their life to live, and I think as parents, we didn't just need to do the best job we can um, of supporting them and pointing them in the right direction. But it's a difficult journey. There's opportunities out there for sure, and then it's just a matter of what you make of them. But as a parent, for me, I was always one to just go to the games and watch and try to help any way I could and be there, for both of my children. But it's not something that I was psychotic or pushy about. It was more of just being a dad and trying to do the best that we all try to do for our children.
Now that you have made your way to Ohio, what makes Dayton University a special place for you now? And what is this, your eighth year? How many
That's
years?
my sixth year.
Okay, so what makes Dayton University special in your mind when you're going about and you're recruiting? And I know you have student athletes pretty much from all over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a really cool place. The academics are very strong. Our facilities are incredible. We have very good support from administration all the way up to the president's level. Um, the atmosphere at the school is incredible. There's a lot to do. The community aspect of it and the having a good time aspect of it, it's all there at an extremely high level. So I feel really fortunate about that. And then obviously the basketball side of it being so good and being committed to playing at the highest level and competing at the highest level and also being in the Midwest and be able to attract a huge fan base and 13, 14,000 every night. There's definitely some trickle down that happens towards baseball and all the other athletic teams that are at the University of Dayton. So that side of it is different from the Northeast. It's probably the biggest difference is the college athletics in the Midwest. I mean, it's a whole nother level than it is in Boston. So it's just really there's not one thing that you would be missing if you came to the University of Dayton. So I think all the student athletes that come here and the students in general, as well as the coaches that are fortunate enough to work at the University of Dayton, um, get to see it every day, and it's exciting.
Well, I have a question that came in from Northern California here, Mr. Jeffrey Roberts, aka Reggie. He wants to know, what are you looking for with regard to a future Dayton Flyer? In other words, what makes a great recruit for Coach King?
I think it all starts with the competitive nature. I think that's really the biggest thing. If they have that, then you can kind of move on to the other stuff. You know, we're looking for the same type of guys everyone else is, that have a lot of tools, have a lot of ability, but the biggest thing is the competitive nature and the will to get better and to want to win. I mean, those things, they show up every day. So you could be a little less toolsy if you have those things at a high level. So it's just a matter of figuring out what makes guys tick and then combining that with what their tools look like and then deciding if there's someone that's going to help you win baseball games. So and one of the biggest things that we look for is we really want guys that we want to be around a lot, because we're with these guys an awful lot. And I can tell you, you know, over my course of time, like you talked about the effect that I've had on players. Some of these guys have a huge impact on me and what I'm doing. So it goes both ways. And when you recruit the right players, I think you see that more and more.
So I want to talk about that a little bit, because I think there's a lack of an understanding about how much time student athletes actually spend with each other as well as the coaching staff. High school, it's generally that 3 or 4 month window, you know, the ramp up period. Then you have your season over 2 months. But college, it's essentially that 9 months a year, and you're tracking them during the summer. So can you talk about a little? That's a big deal when it comes to recruiting.
It is.
Good guys in a locker room over the course of a full year as opposed to a short season.
No doubt. And you know the nature of this game is you're going to get knocked down and you're going to have hard days. But the ones that keep coming back for more, you know, those are the ones that are going to get you to where you want to be as a program and themselves individually. But yeah, I mean, we're with these guys. Any hours that we're allowed to be with them, we are with them. There's 8-hour weeks for a portion of the fall, but there's also 20-hour weeks. And then basically starting tomorrow, we start with our 20-hour weeks, and we'll run that straight through until hopefully the end of May, early June. So you know, you're around these guys a lot, and not only that, you're thinking about them an awful lot as well. I mean, for me, it's always been personal. It's not just like it's not a game. It's way more than that. And you try to really do right by these guys and treat them, you know, as you would your own sons. And there's a lot that goes into that. So it's not just the actual time that you're together; it's the time you spend thinking about them and how to make them better. So there's a lot that goes into it, as you know.
Well, knowing the competitor that you are, and I know the programs that you've had, and now that you're there for 6 years, you're developing a program. Can you tell me a little bit, what does that take to kind of start at that level? And I know you want to compete against the biggest and the best. And how do you bring that into a program and kind of turn it around so everybody's rowing the boat in the same direction, and you want to compete with those bigger conferences and play ultimately in that city in the Midwest at the end of June. How do you get that rolling with your recruiting and getting everybody in the same boat?
Yeah, I mean, you have to have coaches and administration that are right on board with you and are willing to support your vision. Really, I mean, and it's no different with the players. Um, you know, the visions we have, as a coach like myself, that's competitive. That it's we have lofty goals, and I think the only way you get to achieve some of those goals is if you have a vision and then you dream about it a little bit. And for me, it's always been um, it's always been about the players, but it's always been about winning too. And like we talk about the players, like you're gonna remember a lot of things as it relates to your career. A lot of them, a lot of the best times you'll have are as a result of winning. So it is important, and we tell them it's important, and we don't shy away from that. And there's just a lot that goes into that, but I think it all starts with having the right players, having the right coaches, and a vision that is clear, and then a relentless pursuit to try to get to where you want to get, and then showing up every day and trying to execute that plan. There's a lot that goes into it. You've been involved in this, and you're competitive, but it's an everyday thing. And it's for I feel fortunate to be able to do it every day because it's a passion. It's not work. There are some days that are hard, but in general, man, there's no better thing besides shooting for a goal and then getting after it every day to try to make it happen.
When I'm talking with families and I'm trying to get them to understand, sometimes you have to see the forest through the trees. You can't worry about the P5s. You can't worry about all these mega conferences. There's a Stony Brook around the corner. There's a Kent State around the corner. When you get to a regional, you get in it, you can win it. It's just the way the baseball gods work. You have to have a little luck, obviously, but you have to convince student athletes that baseball is not like football and basketball. Once you are in a tournament environment, good things can happen to those teams that compete from first pitch to last. And I know that's the type of athlete that you look for. I want to talk about one because he's near and dear to my heart, and I want parents to understand. So Dayton's in Ohio. Coach King and I are from the greater New England area. I lived in New Orleans for about 6 years, and I ran across this student athlete. And I bring him up because he really wasn't a travel ball guy. He was a football guy. And there's a lot of controversy, for lack of a better term, that goes on in social media about multi-sport athletes. But I think it's safe to say, I believe he's your starting third baseman this year. He's caught for you for a number of years. But he's what we would call a late bloomer. But he is by far and away a legit college baseball player that spent the majority of his high school years focused on football, dabbled in baseball, but now he's really an integral part of your program. I want parents to hear from you what kind of person he is, what kind of person he's become, and how important he is to your program. That's Jay Curtis.
Yeah, and you were instrumental in making that happen. Obviously, the relationships in this game, they go a long way, and when you can trust people, like I've always trusted you with players, it's just so important. But yeah, Jay Curtis came in. He was our starting catcher right out of the gate. Definitely has always lacked a lot of polish. He still lacks polish. But the thing about this kid is he's got a champion's heart. He's an absolute lion. And anything that he doesn't have skill wise, he makes up in desire and in competitiveness and intensity. Like he's the absolute leader of our team this year. He'll be vocal when he needs to. He'll be quiet when he needs to. He's the son of a coach and his grandfather's like the all-time winningest coach in high school football at this point, and you can see it like how he goes about his business every day. But he had a lot to learn too, and
Right.
that's the biggest thing is like he had coaches for parents. It took him a long time to figure out how to navigate the academic side of stuff, taking care of his body, the competitiveness side on the baseball field. It took a long time for him to figure out how to make all those things work. But now you look at him and you see a kid that just has it all. And you know that he's going to have an incredibly bright future ahead of him. And he's going to be a coach. And I'm planning on having him work for me. And we'll see where it all leads. But this kid's a absolute success story. He's everything great about college athletics because it's not all about where you start. It's about what you look like when you get in, and then what you look like when you leave, and that's the true judge. That's the true judge of a coach.
Man, I couldn't have teed that up any better. That's the epitome of what the message that needs to be heard, not how you start. It's okay to lack the finished polish. You can get in, get your feet moving, and become a part of a program, but it's a lot to undertake as a freshman. You don't have to be that 12-month a year polished stone ready to step on campus. You have to be committed to the competing element and dynamic to college athletics. Come in raw, leaving a lot more polished, and going to have a bright future as a coach. So, Jay, on that note, I want to talk to you a little bit about arms pitching because everybody wants to talk college pitching. I want you to think a little bit about that. When you're recruiting these pitchers, it's more than velocity. I want parents to hear from a college coach, it's more than velocity. You have to have that ability to worry about your next pitch, not your last pitch. It's the next pitch that matters. But can you talk about competing at bat to at bat and getting in the weight room as it pertains to being a pitcher at the college level?
Of course. Yeah, I think with our pitchers, stuff just runs through your mind nonstop as you get your team ready to go out there and compete. And we got about 3 weeks left before we do that. And the other day I sent a note in the group chat is if we're one pitch warriors, we're gonna be a scary team. And we think about that a lot with pitchers. It goes to the hitting side too and the defensive side as well. But we think of it a lot as pitchers because they're the ones that you have your eyes on nonstop. And the guys that are capable of doing that can work through a lot of things. And we talk about with our pitching staff is run prevention. It doesn't matter if you let up a hit or you walk a guy. If those guys don't score, it's totally irrelevant. But I think we get wrapped up in guys reaching base or getting a hit or whatever it may be, and then it turns into another bad pitch and another bad pitch, and then the runs start to pile up. But I think as it relates to pitchers, yes, we do want guys that can throw hard, but we want guys that absolutely are going to be able to throw the ball over the plate. Now, some guys can command it, which means they can put it where they want, and then some guys can control it. They can throw it over the plate. But if you can't do one of those two things, you could throw 100 miles an hour, and you're not going to pitch for me. I can promise you that. If you throw 100 and then you can at least have control, absolutely, you're going to get the ball more than you could probably handle having it. But there's a lot that goes into that, and then obviously being able to change speeds is the other component. Just being able to throw a 90-mile-an-hour fastball at the Division I level. If that's all you got, you're going to be in big trouble. So it's being able to change speeds, being able to compete one pitch at a time. And, the pitchers, I think, and this absolutely better than everyone because you are ahead of the curve as it relates to pitching development. So like you are on the front end of the Eric Cressy and the Cressy performance stuff. So you've seen how that's developed over the years, and that was a great start, and it's only gotten better and better. So I think a lot of the guys that we're getting have a pretty good idea of what they need to do as far as their body's concerned. But I think sometimes the mental side and the compete side and the one pitch warrior stuff, that stuff that's left behind a little bit for some of the physical stuff. So I think it's a combination of both. But if anything, I'm taking a guy that's mentally and physically tough and willing to compete on the mound. Those guys are going to be able to get guys out just on sheer will alone a lot of times.
Well, those are the kind of guys that I know you've recruited for many decades. And, today's world is really becoming, travel ball, tournament heavy, preparation, practice light. But there's a shift that seems to be going, and parents have a lot of questions, at least over the last 2 weeks. Should I kind of shorten my summer season with regard to travel and maybe focus on college camps? I know you have some great camps. I've sent a few families and student athletes to your camps over the fall. Talk about how you recruit from your camps that you have throughout the year.
Yeah, the camps, I recommend those to anybody that's interested in a certain school. Get to their camps, because almost every camp that you get to, all the whole coaching staff is going to be there. So that never happens.
Right.
Usually, if someone sees you on the road recruiting, it's one guy. Maybe they'll send in another coach to see you, to cross check you, but never is our four coaches going to see that one player. So if you're good, that's very important, that all the coaches are going to be there. And then also, by you getting to the camp, it shows the coaches that you had a commitment level to make that important to get there. So I think those two things are very important. Um, I would say, when the right camps come up and there is some interest, yes, I would say if you need to miss a game on a weekend and it's not, if there's other colleges not coming in to see you that weekend, I absolutely would recommend doing that. So I think it's just being smart about the opportunities that you have. And there's only, starting this summer there'll be four coaches that can recruit.
Yay.
But yeah, but hey, at the end of the day, if you're trying to cover, a good portion of the world, um, a coach isn't going to be at every single one of your games. So you kind of have to meet guys halfway and show them you're interested, and then see where it all leads.
Okay, how active are you on social media? How do you want parents slash, I'm going to rephrase this. Would you rather hear from student athletes directly via email, social media? Would you rather have a combination of parents and student athlete, or just parents? How are people going to get in front of Dayton University baseball coaching staff?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably in the small group of coaches that feel this way, but yes, I do want the student athlete to take control of the recruiting process, but 100% I'm not opposed to talking to parents either.
Right.
It's a big decision. There's a lot of things that people have to consider as it relates to making time to get to camps, flights, hotels, everything else. There's a lot that goes into this whole process. So at the right time, if the parents get involved, I have no problem with that, and I actually enjoy it, because I, to me, if you do a great job by the players that you have, the parents are going to be your biggest supporters. So I've always lived my coaching career like that. So I believe it all starts when you recruit a player, and because when you're recruiting the player, you're recruiting the family as well. They're going to be around. You want to be around them too. So it all matters. But I would say yes, 100%. The student athlete has to take control of the process, but also, don't leave your parents in the dust. They're a big part of the decisions that you're going to make. They're a big part of your life moving forward when you get to whatever campus you go to. So I see it as a privilege to be able to interact with anybody in the recruiting process, and just try to do a good job by not just the players but the families as well.
Talk to me a little bit about your out of conference schedule, that first 4 weeks prior to when conference kicks off. I know you take pride in, in playing basically anybody that will put you on the schedule, but I noticed that you have some big games here during the first month of the season.
Yeah.
For those parents that don't understand, I mean, you play what I consider to be a very, very good athletic conference, but I want people to know your out of conference as well as your in conference schedule.
Yeah. I mean, I come from a different background from a lot of Division I coaches. I coached at the Division II level for a long time, and we had teams that were more than capable of competing against the Division ones in that area, and probably in a whole bunch of other areas as
Right.
well. But we never got the opportunity to do that. And in my mind, I always said to myself, when and if I get the opportunity to coach at the Division I level, like I'm going to play the best teams I can possibly play, because to me, we're trying, and we talk about this all the time, is we're trying to prepare for SEC, ACC. Like that's our preparation. If we prepare for that, I think it's going to give us, if we recruit the right players, we'll be competitive in those games, and then it's going to set us up well for the conference stuff. But I'm never one to shy away from competition, and I think that there's a lot of good things that come from playing the best teams in the country, and you can learn an awful lot about your team. You can learn an awful lot about yourself and your coaches, and I think it's only extremely positive. The ones that shy away from playing those games just to get wins, I've never been into anything like that. I'm all about playing great competition, and let's get out there and get after it and see who's better. I really don't care who it is. So our first weekend we open up with Western Kentucky. Second weekend we're at Tennessee. Third weekend we're home against Eastern Illinois. Fourth weekend we're at Louisville. Fifth weekend we're at Ohio State, and the sixth weekend we're at Georgetown, and then we start the conference stuff. But that's a pretty good schedule. I mean, there's two top 10 teams in the country on the second weekend and the fourth weekend. So I'm excited about it. I know our players are excited about it. And well, what would you rather want? If you're a competitor,
Right.
don't you want to play the best schools out there? So I'm never gonna shy away from it. And I want to recruit players that want to take part in that schedule. And I think a lot of the guys do. And I think as a result, I think we get some guys that that are willing to to come to the University of Dayton because the schedule that we're going to play.
I have a lot of parents, and when you see me put my old man glasses on, it's all the questions coming in. So first, two questions I want to answer right off the bat. Why didn't my son go to Franklin Pierce? I will tell you right now, Jay King and I recruited against each other. I knew all the kids he was recruiting. He knew all the kids I was recruiting. If my son, my oldest son, had just shown a little bit more ability, I would have definitely wanted him to play for Coach King at Franklin Pierce. My youngest son was just in a different environment, and we, as Coach King and I were just talking about, all about the academic dynamic. If he was at Dayton, it could have been a different story at that time. But I think Tyler really wanted some warm weather, if you really want me to be honest. But I will tell you this, and there's a lot of people that I know are asking me questions. You're from the West Coast, if you're from the Pacific Northwest, if you're from Arizona, because I have about 5 guys here from Arizona asking me questions. All I'm going to tell you is Dayton, Ohio, beautiful area, great campus, tremendous coaching staff. This is the type of a school that could definitely put you in a situation, whether it's for summer ball or potentially pro baseball. It's a great coaching staff. Again, all these guys asking me, do you recruit from Arizona? Heck yeah. He recruits from anywhere in the country. But again, Jay, how do you want these guys to contact? You want them, they're going to start following you on Twitter? You want an email? How do you want them to contact you?
Also, like, I'm probably one of the few coaches that, whether it's good or bad, it's totally irrelevant. But anybody that reaches out to me via text or via email, they will get a response. Like, you can guarantee that. So one of those two ways, text or email is usually the easiest way. But anyone that reaches out to me, I'll always. It may feel superficial because sometimes it does include a camp invitation, but it's not. That's not the case at all. We've had a whole bunch of guys commit to our school from the camp because the timing of it. We can't recruit until March 1st, so we have a camp in February. Well, that's a pretty good time to be rolling into a camp where we're looking to see players and commit players. So one of those two ways: email, or a phone call or text message.
So all you guys that are watching with Coach Tom in Arizona, all the description, I'm going to have all of Coach King's contact information in the description of this video. He loves power hitting catchers. So yes is the answer to that question. But
Yeah.
I'll make sure I'll put all his contact information, his Twitter handle, his email address. I'm not going to put his cell phone number on YouTube, but you can definitely email him. Last question that's coming in that I'd like to spend a few minutes talking with you about. You as a parent, you as a coach over all these years, can you talk about the late bloomers? You and I know late bloomers in New England. They're those are the guys we want. They have a chip on their shoulder. They got an edge. But for all these parents that are so worried about eighth grade, ninth grade, they're not who's committing, who's not committing. Don't we as coaches have, or don't you as a coach have an affinity for that late bloomer that is
Yeah.
really in the weight room and grinding every day, and then all of a sudden, junior, senior year, they go boom. Those are the guys we love, right?
We do. This is what I'll tell you as it relates to that. So at Franklin Pierce, it was unique in a lot of ways, but one of the coolest things about that place is all the late bloomers. I would take them all, and you saw what happened with
Oh
that. I
yeah,
mean, the amount of guys that developed in the draft picks, big leaguers, World Series, a lot of them had to do with guys that were late bloomers. So because we could just add recruits late and everything else, we would if we thought that anybody had the potential to develop into a really good player, we'd just take them, and then we would bet on our development process for those players to make them thrive. And there's nowhere better in to me anywhere where you can do that than in the Northeast, because especially back then, guys were extremely raw. Now you see more and more programs that do a really good job with indoor facilities and everything else. So it has gotten a lot better over the course of time. What I will say, at the Division I level, there still is room for that. The problem is the roster limits.
yep.
So you got to make sure you have enough talent and you have enough players, so you're never shorthanded. But you also don't want to have 60 players.
Right.
So it's a little more complicated at the Division I level, but the late bloomers, we're always on the lookout for them, and we tell guys all the time at camp, if you come and you're close, come again, and then come again, and let us know where you're playing, because if you can show that you're going to get better and you're going to keep developing, um, we're gonna maintain interest in you until we figure out that you're either good enough or not good enough. But I've made a living off late bloomers,
Amen.
as you know,
Yeah.
and always have my eyes out for them for sure.
With the addition, I just want to ask this last question. With the addition of the third and fourth paid coaches, do you see any changes in the number of scholarships and roster sizes on the horizon?
I think the roster limit will go to 40 and stay at 40. I think it's only reasonable. I mean, you know how this game is
Oh
going.
yeah.
I mean, in my time being, a college coach for almost 30 years, this when I first got started, if you had a full-time job, a lot of times you had to coach another sport just to have a full-time job in baseball. Well, now there's Division II schools that have full-time head coach. They might have two full-time people on staff, and you see the amount of money that some of these coaches are making, including myself. It's come an awful long way. There's still work to be done. I think it's all going to end up in a greater spot as we move along. I just don't think it's going to happen. It's not just going to be one big dump where we get all this stuff coming our way. I think it's going to be a gradual process. I think getting the extra coach is a huge step forward. Um, and I think once we can increase the scholarship stuff, and then if we can stay at 40, maybe even get to 45, I think it's only going to keep this game moving in the right direction and keep getting more healthy as time goes along.
Jay, I want to say thank you. I know that I've taken a little advantage, a little extra time here, but I want to say thank you to you, Captain. Obviously, congratulations on Harvard. And I know you wear that shirt proudly. For all parents, student athletes, if you watch tonight, first of all, Dayton University is in the Blue Book, the baseball Blue Book, 109-year-old directory for all things and anything related to the sport of baseball. Want to make sure you understand, I'm going to put all of Coach King's contact information in the description. Feel free to fire him off an email. I'll put some social media handles on there as well. If you liked everything we talked about tonight, can you just start spreading the word? Give us a thumbs up. Obviously, I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel. The Blue Book is going to be growing. We're going to be doing a lot of different things with college coaches. We're going to go to some of their camps. We're going to take some video. We're going to kind of show parents what camps look like. I'll certainly show up in Dayton and spend a day with Coach King, which reminds me, you're coming to URI this summer.
Yes, sir.
My wife's son goes to URI, and I'm actually moving Jay Curtis's brother out of Northeastern and helping the Curtis family with some lobster.
Awesome.
Lobster. So we'll see you at URI.
There you go. Sounds good, my man.
So I want to say thank you, everybody, for joining us. If you have any questions, fire them away. And until next week, and we're going to have Steve Holm from Illinois State, former catcher at San Francisco Giants. We're going to talk some Illinois baseball, and we're going to talk all things related to cold weather baseball as well for all you guys in the Midwest and in the Northeast. Thank you, Jay. Thank you very much. All right, Cap.
Have a good night.
You too, bud.